Yeah, there's never a quiet moment in my house, and it's never whenever the devil is always busy. The devil is always busy. Whenever you want to do something, my camera, I had like a little camera set up and everything, a lot more graphics, but I've been having technical difficulties all at the last second. But that's all good. Um, Let me see. Let me check something. Let me see. Goodness gracious. All right. See, like I said, never a dull moment. Never a moment where I am left to my own devices. Well, when I'm at work, I am in the corporate world, but I started off in real estate, and real estate is something that has always made sense for me. I come from witnessing an older generation of property owners, lords of their land, and I mean, it just always made sense to me. Like, I tried being a realtor for a while. That wasn't it for me, cause it's just different. It's maybe I might give it a different a stab at it at a different time. For some people, it just didn't work out for me. It just wasn't in line with me. And at some point, you just have to cut your losses. It's expensive. Is As a business, you got to really be involved in it and keep the revenue churning. But wholesale real estate is something that's one of my early successes as an entrepreneur. Um, when I first jumped into real estate, oh wow. So yeah, one of my early successes as an entrepreneur was through the strategy of wholesaling real estate. Basically flipping contracts. That worked quite well for me as a young man. Yet I can obviously look back and see what I could have done differently. And now, right now, I'm at a point um, doing different things, pursuing different endeavors. But real estate is always going to be there for me. It's always something that's ever present. And now, as I I'm preparing to marshal some resources towards acquiring assets. So I take some lessons with me, and I want to just share some right now. Um, but let me tell a joke. Okay, I always want to tell a joke. I want to tell a real estate joke. I used to go to real estate meetings and all the time, and I like this one dude. He used to always tell jokes. So I'm gonna start off with a real estate joke. Um, if I can find it, I lost it. Well, I'll tell you a real estate joke, or I'll just tell you an ongoing um, thing with real estate. If you've never been physically threatened by an animal, another person, or by hazardous conditions, you haven't really done real estate. At least wholesale real estate in the trenches. It doesn't have to be that way. Things have changed. I'm gonna talk about all that. But because I started when I did it when was really in the trenches with real estate, it was about 10 years ago. I got my first deal in 2013, and I wrote off about well, let's talk about who am I. I wrote my name is Anthony Washington. I did about 80 deals in about 3 4 years, and what I go back to the posing the question. If I was starting out in real estate today, what I would do differently, I could look back all the mistakes I made. What I would do differently is I would first document more, document, and I would have, and back then, I mean, everybody always has a personal brand. Personal brands, as long as they've been celebrities, I suppose they've been personal brands, but it just hasn't been a catchphrase like it is right now. Back then, I would have documented more and built my brand, show people what I was doing, and it would have given me more credibility. It might have built more visibility for me, created more opportunities for me, and you know, can't harp on it, can't lament on it, but I just, that's my experience that I went through, and that if I can impart to someone else, that's what I'll do. That's what that's what I'm here for, to help someone else. Now, trying to see, I'm trying to see how this works. Can I actually see comments? Yeah. Well, if anybody, I can't even see like who's on. If anybody is even on here. If I have any viewers, I don't plan. I plan to go one solid hour with this at the most. But I just want to talk about just talk about real estate. I've been meaning to do this, go more, go live more. Um, this it's a process, man. It's a process of me just working through the process. But I can't see if anybody has. I don't know how am I supposed to see. Maybe nobody's on here. But if anybody has any questions, I want to start off right there. If anybody got any questions, I want to hear from anybody who's in real estate. What are your areas of focus? What are you trying to gain? What are you trying to accomplish? And if you're not in real estate, then um, I want to know what you do know about real estate. What draws you to real estate? What draws your interest in what area of real estate do you want to get involved with? And of course, like I said, this is a beginner. 95% of the market in any sector of any industry, 95% of the market is going to be beginners. Um, and so uh, I'm an expert because the definition of an expert is someone who has experience and expertise in doing something. So I've done real wholesale real estate, and so I want to teach that to anyone who's interested. I've got a lot of I've documented and shared some of the things I've done in the past, and people have asked about it. You know, there's a ton of information out there. There's no shortage of information out there. There's no shortage of teachers. I might not be your teacher, but I know I could be for someone, and I've come to embrace that you might not be for everybody, but you have a voice that resonates with a certain person, and so I'm just making myself available as a servant in that way. But let me take a second real quick. Let's see. Why you stand? I was there for you. I was there for you. See, anybody knows me knows I'm a music head, so I wish I could play music. Ooh, I was there for you. I know that me bad for you. Anyway, like I said, man, I'm gonna start doing these, and I'm just gonna do them. They'll be up. I don't expect people to just attend these, especially right now. It's 8 o'clock. Nighttime is May the 4th. It's a it's a Thursday. Thursday evening. People doing their thing, but I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to continue to do this. Anyway, let me get through this. So, um, since I don't have anybody on here, which is cool, it's cool. It give me shit. I did it. I can say I did it. And but anyway, let's get right to it. The way I'm going to run this live is I'm just going to go high level, and then if I had someone on here, I could allow you to kind of dictate how deep you want to go on any of these processes, these basic processes. But I'm just going to go over this and uh, whatever comes up, however the spirit moves. But in a nutshell, how to wholesale real estate, it's about getting a list. Again, I could talk about this in my from my sleep because I've done it, I've lived it, uh, and I figure it's good to hear from someone who has done it, but is not a guru, and who's I'm not going to sit here and posture myself as someone who knows everything, who has done everything, who's got attained all that there is to attain as far as real estate. But yeah, I've done some things. But anyway, getting a list. So getting a list, getting a list. That's where it starts. Well, that's what I would do. I would focus on getting a list and marketing to that list. Okay, so let me contrast that with what I first did. I went guerrilla style, and this still works because I still do it. And ironically, I know I'm telling you to get a list to start working towards getting a list, but ironically, the last deals that I have done, I don't do a whole lot. I'm not very active. I'm being honest with you, being transparent and honest. But the last few deals that I've done have been from driving for dollars, what we call driving for dollars. Me doing something that I love to do anyway. My One of my favorite things in the world is to simply drive, roam, and I'm in San Antonio, roam the San Antonio streets at odd times. That's what I do sometimes. And when I'm stressed, and I don't get stressed, but when that anxiety starts to swell up in me, that's what I do. I start driving. I start driving around. When I learn, when I want to learn something, retain some type of information. This is just a tidbit from me, um, as an aside. I've learned how to learn, right, as I've gotten older. Being someone who's very curious and wants to learn things, I've learned the way that I've learned best. Certain things I learn best by just putting, like, for certain things that I can just listen to, especially that I don't need to see, but I need to retain the information. I'll have that audio playing, and I'll drive around and just play it, and I retain information very well that way. For some reason, driving and listening and stuff makes me retain information. So don't let me get off subject. But anyway, that's what I do. I drive around a lot. I make it a regular habit. It's always been a regular practice for me to just drive around and detour and just take the off the path that's a different path. Just ride around, explore, and just be aware and pay attention to signs of distress, vacant houses, of course, tall grass, boarded up, some type of disrepair. The signs are there. You know when a property is vacant or could potentially be vacant, or um, a niche that I started to exploit for a while was vacant lots. And vacant lots were a niche that I kind of I explored for a while on my own, all by myself, and For a while there was really nobody in that I know that was doing vacant lots, and I was messing with it, man. I was doing it, and but yeah, I would find vacant lots and flip those. So that's how I started off. I started off doing that, getting deals, and that's how I still get deals to this day. So I'm telling you, um, driving for dollars is still a good way, but it's um, uh, from an efficiency standpoint. If you have, especially if you have some marketing dollars, I'd work towards getting a list. Now you can buy list. Um, you have. Let me show you. Let me show my screen real quick. You can buy lists, but one right now, and I wish they had this when I was actively in the game, but I'm glad they have it now. It's prop stream. Prop, I mean prop. Well, they have prop stream, but now they have prop wire. And prop wire, man, this has just about as much information as some of my MLS. When I was a realtor, and I had, when you're a realtor, a lot of your fees are some of the at least when in San Antonio, this the San Antonio Board of Realtors, they, if you join the Board of Realtors, pay your dues and stuff like that. You get access to some pretty good tools, man. They got some very comprehensive tools that I liked, and that were, as a, and see, the reason why I wasn't a good realtor is because I couldn't get out of that wholesale mind frame, that investor mind frame, and so I used a lot of those tools, and I would, and I stockpiled on lists because I was like, man, I guess something told me in the back of my brain I wasn't gonna be a realtor for long, but I was like, man, I got all access to all this data. I'm finna just gather all this data. So I downloaded tons of data when I was a realtor. But a lot of that same information that I thought I was hoarding or whatever, a lot of that same information you can find on PropWire. So that's a great list source. You have the county records. Um, well, let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back. Because we're talking about if I was starting out in real estate, what I would do. So, in contrast to what is popular and what is popular, getting a list. Um, Popular lists are probates, people who have died in that process, and then the process that goes on with that is called a probate. And so that's obviously people die all the time. That's a distress situation. It could be a potentially distressed situation. Could be a potentially motivated seller. Um, Divorcees. So you can build relationships with attorneys, or you can. There are data services that can provide you with that information. Usually, the more detailed and the more current the information, the more you have to, the more expensive that data is. Um, Free sources, you can call um, certain municipalities and counties, and I've called most of the ones in South Texas, and I've done the work for you. Most of the municipalities in Texas, that being or in South Texas, they're my area of Texas. I'm in San Antonio, so Bexar County, uh, Karnes, Kinney County, what Atascosa, Comal, Guadalupe, Gonzales, DeWitt, Lavaca, um, Kennedy, not Kennedy. Yeah, Kennedy area. What's the Kennedy County? Wilson County. Um, I've called most of them, right? And most of them you have to pay a fee, or some of them it depends on who you're talking to, because not everybody is even savvy enough to even know, what's your why, because it's not uncommon to call some a municipality and be like, request data, certain data, and they'll, you know, be suspicious, or they'll be like, well, why would you want that? And then you call a certain clerk, and then she'll be very happy, very accommodating, and very helpful, and in getting you that data. But I don't do that a lot because that's a process in itself. So if I were starting out in real estate, what I would do if I had that, if I had the money, see, it comes down to a few basic things. It comes down to either you have money to invest. So if you have money to invest, I would invest it in an assistant, a virtual assistant that you can hire for. And you don't get alarmed when I say this, but you can hire virtual assistants as long as you train them. Remember, virtual assistants and in from overseas, they work for not for cheap, because the currency just it converts different. So it's not working for cheap. They're working for what is an acceptable wage for you, but you can that exchange could be $3 to $5 an hour, and I've gotten great help, and I still will continue to work with contractors and freelancers and um, professionals, virtual assistants from overseas who work from $3 to $5 an hour. I would hire somebody if I was starting out again. I would hire somebody to gather data for me, either make those calls for me, or I send them to PropWire, set them up with a PropWire account, have them give them a set of parameters. And with PropWire, you can have it on a system to where it sends you alerts, so that's good. Um, but I'd have them keeping that data organized. Um, I won't get into deep into all the ways to organize and the methodology around organization. Shameless plug. I do want to take a moment to share that I do have a course that I go in depth in, and you will get access to it, and then more access to me when you join the SMCI, the Systems Management Cash Flow Institute community. It's a community. It's the community that I've put apart, that I've put together. It's part of my. So I have a rich and righteous course that I sell for $129. But for those who are on this live, or if you catch this video later, you can actually get this course for $9.99 when you join the Systems Management Cash Flow Institute community, and more. And then you can cancel at any time. So it's a bad business. It's bad business for me. It's bad. But essentially, a product I sell for 129 you can get for $9, and if you wanted to, essentially you could cancel your subscription, and this resource and all the other products that you download are yours to keep. So I'm offering that right now, $9. So I can go way more in depth as far as, um, and I will go more in depth as far as how to wholesale real estate. But in a nutshell, yeah, getting a list. So it comes down to, if you have the money, spend it on, and how you would want to allocate the budget is you want to spend it on probably an assistant that would help you get your data together, make some calls. So that's, getting the list and marketing to that list, or putting it in your CRM. So a CRM. So that's more savvy. I didn't When I first started, I didn't have a CRM. A CRM I had was a notebook that I just wrote down all the addresses and then names, and then um, that was my primitive way of doing it. But now they have CRMs. I can show you mine. Well, I'm not going to show you mine. My CRM, I use this SalesMate. You have tons of them out there. A lot of people use Podio. Podio is very powerful, very sophisticated, and it can be too sophisticated to where you get lost in the weeds. I got caught up in Podio for a while, and it's very programmable, but it seems to, for at least for me, it broke a lot, man. A lot of configuration, but I was working with a developer. I don't know if they and I was trying to go a little cheap, and I don't know if they knew exactly the full capabilities of, or they really knew what they were doing all the way. He put together a nice little system for me. But to keep it simple, man, SalesMate is one I would endorse. But you need something at the basic level. You need at least a spreadsheet. Okay, you need a spreadsheet that you keep track of all your sellers, properties and the sellers. Keep track of all the buyers, uh, other wholesalers. Just get more organized. Just start building your book of business and contacts. Um, so I'd hire a virtual assistant. First, I'd go through the process myself because you can't really. And again, I teach you how to. I can teach you how to hire people properly and make it as easy and as seamless a process because a lot of people don't know how to hire and they don't know how to train, and so they end up wasting money and wasting time with someone who they think can be a good addition to them. But especially when you're hiring a virtual assistant, they are very direct and matter of fact. You have to be very detail oriented with them. You have to be step by step. And so if you don't know the process, if you don't know the steps, or if you don't have documentation and able to convey that to someone step by step, then yeah, it's gonna be very difficult. So and then following up and building that buyers list in the meantime. So following up. So that's why I mentioned a CRM. A CRM is a customer relationship management tool. So it's like a software. It's like something that just keeps. It could be just a simple calendar, but something that either that reminds you something that you can keep documentation of um, who you've been speaking with, um, and something that will remind you when to follow up because that's where the fortune is in the follow up. Most of my deals I had to follow up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times before I got the property under contract and before yeah, and before I was able to get a deal. So the fortune is in the follow up, and it's been plenty times where I was following up with a property um, seller, and then when I hit that, I fall off for whatever reason, stop reaching out to them. I see that they've sold it to someone else, and it's like, man, that was me. I warmed them up for someone else. So that keep that in mind. So in running comps, making offers, getting property under contract. So running comps, I would if I was starting out and if I had the budget, I would hire someone to do that, or I'd hire somebody to run comps, um, or set up some type of system for it. In making offers, that'd probably be something that you want to do. That's working when you're working on your business. If you approach real estate wholesale as a real business, not a hustle. Because I used it as a side hustle for too long. That was my issue. It was a good hustle, but again, like I didn't have. I was working with different notebooks and stuff like that. That's no way to run a business. Um, I wasn't very organized, wasn't very consistent. So I didn't treat it like a business. But if I was treating it like a business, again, I'd have an assistant, I'd have documentation, I'd have spreadsheets, I'd have my software tools, I'd have a schedule for certain things to happen. Um, I treat it like a business, and I'd make sure that the tasks that I'm working on are the most high level tasks and the ones that are going to produce high level results. And so most of your results are going to come from making offers. You have to make offers. If you're not making offers, to this day, I still try to put myself in the habit to just call and make offers, and see what type of opportunities that creates. Um, That's what I would do. Um, and then of course you got the run and title and lock up the deal with the end buyer. Um, you can have an assistant for that. Run once you get the property under contract, you have a buyer. You want to run the title, um, get you a title company, an investor friendly title company. So you want to just make a few phone calls. I could tell you, but I don't know for um, I don't know if I should mention their names or their give them an endorsement on this. I don't know how prudent that would be. Um, but if you join my community or we continue to build, I can give you those type of resources. But I mean that's it in a nutshell as far as wholesaling real estate. Again, it comes down to if you have the budget, put that budget to work in a systematic way. An assistant or some type of tools that can mimic an assistant in certain ways to offload and outsource some of those menial tasks. So you want to spend most of your time reaching out to people, whether that be buyers, mostly sellers, because from my experience, this is how it worked. What the fuck? What the hell is that? So for how it worked for me is um, I would get um, how I started building momentum when I got a few deals. My first two or three deals were with the same person or the same group, and then um, um, because you'll see a lot of other gurus out there. I pay attention to all the information out there, and they'll talk about your buyers list and stuff like that. It's good to have a buyers list, I suppose, but really, um, depending on depending on the activity, usually you're gonna find if you really start locking up deals, most likely you'll run into the same buyers again and again. If you are blocking up deals under uh, that have um, lots of equity and lots of room to make profit, you will likely run into, um, especially depending on your market, you're likely front run into less than five consistent buyers, and that was my experience. Um, I would have like on the east side, like okay, so for the east side of San Antonio, I'm in San Antonio. The east side of San Antonio at that time was my niche because the east side of San Antonio, and full disclosure, I am not the only one, but I am one who is. Let me turn my light on. I'm one who is partially responsible for the gentrification that has happened in San Antonio, particularly on the east side and the near west side. Man, this light don't work, Joker. The Joker don't work. Oh. Anyway, so I'm one who's partially responsible for the gentrification on the east side because uh, where I lived on the east side. Okay, so I'm an east sider. I'm not a San Antonian, but I've lived in San Antonio long enough, and first lived on the east side. Right when I moved to San Antonio, lived on the east side for quite a while. And where I lived, you know, I would drive for dollars. I would then I started getting into figuring out data too. So I combined my data gathering, list building with driving for dollars. Being on the east side, especially back then, the east side had a bit of a reputation for being dangerous. I mean, it's not that dangerous. So that was part of my advantage is that I had no problem driving around the east side. I had no problem hopping out, and out of my car and looking at properties, talking to neighbors. I had no problem doing that. And so when I would get some deals, I would actually run into wholesalers that would be like, "No, we don't buy on the east side." And then I run into other more savvy buyers who'd be like, "Oh shoot, man, we buying on the east side all day." And I met this one dude. He wasn't even from San Antonio. He came in and he man, we did good business together for a while. And he brought probably about, I think he bought like 11 properties from me in the span of a year or two. And then he just got, he stopped. He kind of burnt out with that, or he kind of just, pivoted or whatever. But that's how it works, man. You find, you start doing deals. All you need is one or two good buyers, two investors that will buy from you, and you're rolling, man. And but you still want to always keep your list together. So yeah, you're either gonna have the money or you're gonna have the time. You're gonna have the If you got money, put it to work the right way. If you got the time, you gotta hustle. Um, you gotta go after those lists. You gotta get out there in the streets and drive, and you got to make phone calls. And then now, what they didn't have back then is these Facebook groups. So there's a lot of Facebook groups, but it's a lot of traffic. It's a lot more competition right now. If I was starting out in real estate right now, I I would warn. I would seriously warn and um, give caution, because it's way more competitive than it was when I first jumped out there. These Facebook groups, you see a lot of activity, but I'm not sure how. But the competition is fierce, so the deals seem to be slimmer. But there still are deals out there. That will never go away as long as people are people and habitate and move and die and separate. Whatever. Kids. So real estate is something that will always be there. It's like groceries. That's never going to go out of vogue. So as long as you come in with the right expectations, it's not get rich quick, and you may experience beginner's luck. And I believe in because I never want to discourage somebody, but when people ask me about real estate or why I'm not actively, I just I'm honest with them. It's just not. It just I got burnt out. I didn't do certain things in a certain way correctly, so I had to um, pivot. And then I just, interest took me in certain other things in other ways. But when I want to approach real estate in a more business-like manner, um, so that's part of my purpose for doing this. I might find someone um, who has that drive and has that ambition to be a real estate wholesaler and is looking for someone I can be a mentor to them, and I could maybe participate in a deal with them, but they're doing most of the lead work. I can be behind the scenes. I can send emails on your behalf through my CRM. I can send text messages through my CRM, mass text messages, those type of things, man. Um, but if you have that time and you don't have the money, then you definitely have to um, make phone calls. You need to scrounge up some type of budget to for more, if not anything else, to skip trace. Skip tracing is an essential part of real estate wholesaling. Skip tracing is where you find a vacant property. Now you have to find the information of the person who owns it, and that's called skip tracing. So you find the property, you look up the property owner through the tax records, and then in some cases, very few municipalities that I've seen actually will include their contact information as far as their phone number. You can send email. I mean, you can send direct mail. There's a cost to that. Um, or it's better to just they're like on PropWire right now. I think they're charging 10 cents for a skip trace. and they'll provide you with multiple numbers, cell phone numbers as well, and they might provide you with an email address. And sometimes it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss with the information, with the data. Sometimes the data is just boo boo, and sometimes, a lot of times, it's accurate, and a lot of times this information is right on Google because um, the baby boomers and um, still a lot of baby boomers out there that own these properties. They really are the major. They're When we talk about the transfer of wealth, they're the ones who are holding on to that wealth that will be transferred. So those are the ones usually you're going to be speaking to. You're going to usually in wholesale real estate. Typically, you're going to either be speaking to someone who's elderly, or you're going to be speaking to possibly someone who's younger than you, who's inherited a property. And I've actually, and maybe at another time I'll give an example and I'll give an update. But I'm actually going back and forth. And again, real estate is a relationship building as well. When you're trying to get a deal, sometimes sellers will just won't work with you just because they just don't vibe with you. And so you have to consider that. But anyway, this is a young dude. His father died, owns a property that I noticed from driving around. I reached out to him, you know, compassionate because I know he's inherited this property, but his father died, so there's, you got to be sensitive with that. And we're dialoguing. I don't want to just be too aggressive with him, it could be a possible deal. Anyway, those are the type of people you're going to be speaking to. So if I was just starting out in real estate, yeah, that's what I would keep in mind is uh, you can never discount beginner's luck. You can never discount serendipity, and you can never discount what God has for you. God has for you. Um, and nobody on here, so ain't nobody got no questions. It's easy for me to just answer questions because I can talk about this at all different angles. But it's really basic, man. It's really basic. It's simple in concept. It's the execution that's tough. But if anybody watches this later again, I want to leave you with just a reminder that you can join the Systems Management Cash Flow Institute community, and I'll leave a link to that underneath this video or in the comments. And you will get, and as part of that, you will get, when you join my community, you get a host of resources. Part of that is my Rich and Righteous course, a course in life principles and 21 lessons. And a bonus to that is my real estate playbook. So all of that you would get for $9.99. That's my monthly community price. So you could join for $9.99 today, or when you see this video, and essentially you get a $129 product that I sell for $9. So I'm doing bad business, but just gotta start somewhere. But anyway, that's all I wanted to leave you with. If nobody's gonna be on here, nobody's gonna ask me any questions. It's all good. I ain't tripping. Wasn't expecting really nobody, and you never know. In the future, somebody could catch this, and it might just blow up. You never know. So I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Feel good about this. Let's talk. And I have my other. This is my bad camera, man. It's my web camera on the computer. It don't look good at all. Don't show my good angles and nothing like that. But anyway,